Man, it's days like today. I wish I had an intro song, like so I could just come in here singing. Or I wish YouTube wouldn't hate on me every time I try to play a little music to start off the podcast because I will come in here with that Gucci two times playing right. Gucci two times, say it two times because I'm giving you two podcasts in a week. What is wrong with me? But when I have stuff that I want to talk about, I got to come on here and talk about it. And forgive me, I ain't got no tickers for y'all today. I honestly didn't think about them until just now, but I'll rattle off the topics that we got for you. So I'm going to open it up by talking about black people versus people of color. And I'm going to take that to get into some other things that I think are pressing issues within the black race. We're going to talk about the song WAP. I'm going to go a little bit more in detail with that. Just because of the responses to the song, honestly. Gonna talk a little bit about how COVID's exposing the NCAA and talk about some wild fans in sports. But I guess I should introduce the podcast with hey, it's the big baby. And I'm back. I'm back by myself today. What's new? But that's not a bad thing. I love to come on here and talk to you all. So, in light of recent events, I think the issue of black and what is black, people of color, race versus ethnicity, and all of that stuff has really become an issue that we've been talking about. And I think that the issue of black and a level of blackness is a problem that we're going to continue to fight within the black culture. But first, before we get into that, let's define what is black. So I looked it up because I wanted to see what the dictionary said that black is because I have an idea of what black is. But here's two definitions: of or relating to any of the various populations having dark pigmentations of the skin. Fairly accurate because if you see somebody with skin like mine, or lighter or darker, you know what I mean, heavily melanated skin, you go, they're black. But here's a bit more of a specific definition that I think crosses into the ethnic background of what black is. Of or relating to African American people or their culture. And when you think about African American people, right, we're talking about ADOS, right? African descendants of slaves. So Americans, black Americans like me who trace their roots back to slaves. Okay, because there is a difference between me, an African American, and somebody who may have been born in Africa and they came to America. Yes, they are African American, but ethnically, they are a lot more African than I am, who ethnically, I am a bit more American just because of the amount of time that my family has spent in America, the traditions, the values, the culture that we actually have, okay? So I say that to say there is a difference between black people and people of color. And there is nothing wrong with black people identifying with people of color, but you have to understand that there is a distinction, okay? And I say that because you can be what color do you want to pick? Or what race or ethnicity do you want to pick? Do you want to be a person of Asian descent, a person of Latin descent, okay? You are considered a person of color. But are you black? No. And I think it's unsafe for us to continually group minorities into one group. It goes white people and everybody else, right? And I don't think that's right because we all have our own different cultures. We all have our own different experiences, and by putting these people together, putting us together all the time is problematic because it strips us of who we are. And for those of us who cannot accurately trace our lineage, okay, we only excuse me. For those of us who can't trace our lineage to our roots, I think it is important for us to create a division Not division in actions, right? But a division to let other people know that, hey, we are different. Just because we are of color does not mean we are the same people. So to use the term people of color to describe black people, are black people people of color? Absolutely. But are all people of color black? No. So be careful when you're using that term. Okay. And again, some of this comes because of the recent vice president selection. And I've seen people arguing back and forth about she's black. Well, no, she's not black because she's Jamaican and she's Indian. So she's not technically black. Well, is she? Sure, by definition, she is black because she has melanated skin. But is she of American black culture or African American culture, as the dictionary states it? And I'd say no. Are there similarities? Sure. But is it actually the same? No, it's not. And because it's not the same, there has to be some difference in the way that we classify these things so that there isn't confusion amongst us. And a conversation I had last night that I actually need to finish, we talked about, well, black, the race versus ethnicity thing. I think that's important. So let's define these words. Race, grouping humans based on shared physical or social qualities into categories generally um, observed as distinct by society. Excuse me, generally upheld as distinct by society. Pretty much where are you from? That's all it is. Like, where are you from? Based on where you're from, your people's country of origin is where your race is what your race is going to be. But let's get into ethnicity. The fact or state belonging to a social group that has common national or cultural tradition. And this is the big divide that we have here. This is the big thing that's important for us to discuss here, because someone can have black skin but identify totally differently ethnically from someone like myself. You can be Nigerian, okay? You can be Jamaican, you can be Dominican, right? And people will see you as black when they look at you, but ethnically you don't define yourself as just black. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is okay. But for us as African descendants of slaves, the only thing we can kind of ethnically identify is as black. So that causes confusion amongst people on the outside looking in. And it often causes confusion amongst all of us because we don't often see the differences in one another or see the differences in other people's cultures. And sometimes we use that to say, oh, no, I am not one of them. I am this. To you internally, yes, but to outside eyes, you're often seen as black. So for me, don't be black when it's convenient for you, but then choose your ethnicity when it's convenient for you then. Be who you are. Embrace both, but understand that if one's going to benefit you here, whatever you're going to be that, okay? Don't choose this. Don't say I'm not black until there's a benefit for black people because you have black skin. But also for people who see this, right? We're dealing with these people because we talk about the black agenda. And I just want to say again, the black agenda is a farce. There cannot be a black agenda because is there an agenda for any other group of any other race of people? Is there? Because you can't say that what you're doing for me as a black person in my current status is the same thing as a black person who's living in Beverly Hills or a black person who's living in the slums. We have different desires. We have different needs. Do we experience some of the same types of issues, some of the same types of oppression? Absolutely. But to group us as one person, one agenda is just absolutely insane. We have to draw a line here. And again, it is not a hate line. Say, oh, I don't like you because you're different from me, because you're a different kind of black. It's no. You are who you are, and I'm not going to water down what your experience is, what your culture is, because mine is different, but we share skin. Now think about this. We would never, ever group a Japanese, a Chinese and a Korean together culturally. Never. Physically, they share characteristics. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going here? So we can't do the same for Black people. We may share characteristics, the skin color, this grade of hair, but we do not share the same cultural experiences, and those have to be acknowledged. And I think this issue that we're having with representation, okay, can we celebrate that we have the first person of color as a female person of color vice presidential candidate? Absolutely. Can we celebrate having the first Black female um vice presidential candidate? Absolutely. But are we celebrating the first African American descendant of slave woman as a candidate? No, we can't, because that's not what it is. Is it wrong to celebrate this? No. Are you wrong to have your questions about it? No, you can question it. You can look at someone's track record and say, oh, this person is not of us just because they look like us. It is okay to call that out. It is okay to be critical, but does the criticism that you leverage toward this person outweigh the benefits? Is this person actually somebody who can be a voice of reason for our people? Have they shown the ability to do that? Then trust them. They don't have to look like us to help us, okay? They don't have to look like us to always represent us. It is okay at times to have people who are not you, who may have your interest at heart. But we just can't accept symbols. So what if we have somebody who looks like us doing things that we want to do? Are you providing a tangible output for the people that you claim to represent? And guess what? Maybe this person does not even claim to represent Black people. It's just looking to represent the country of America as a whole. That is well within that person's right, because the country is just not Black. The country just is not white. The country is a melting pot of different cultures, races, and ethnicities. And our top end politicians should, keyword should, look to represent the best interest of the country as a whole. Now, getting into what the best interests of the country are, that's another conversation. Getting into what are the best interests for a specific group of people, that is another conversation. And if you, as I do, feel that your community is being misrepresented or underrepresented in politics, then that's when you have to take action. You have to hold those politicians accountable. You have to put their feet to the fire, whether it's writing letters, going to town halls, raising awareness of your issues, whether it is running yourself, finding candidates to run who will represent you, getting these people out of office. All of those are steps to creating the change that you want to see. But I will always say to you, despite the problems that we have in our system, we cannot look to politics to change our lives. We have to look to change our lives and then make the politics reflect the lives that we want. Because if you leave it up to a politician to make the best decisions for you, then you're never going to get there. If you're looking for the system to take care of you, a system that was not built for you to succeed, then you have failed yourself. You must find ways to circumvent the system to get the success that you're looking for. And yes, it may be more difficult. Yes, there may be more hurdles, but that's the cost that you have to pay to get there. And do symbols of our race representing us help us out? Absolutely. Because it can help change the minds of people who may see us as lesser people and say, oh, wow, no, I had no idea that these type of people were capable of this. Shocking that people still think that way, but it's a thing. Wow, I didn't know this person could have this perspective. Absolutely. It's a thing, but let's not put all our eggs in the baskets of these people, man. They have batteries in their backs. They have people who are putting them in positions to be where they are. And if you're not one of those batteries in the back, then your agenda is going to just go ignored. Okay. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. The people who pay the money get what they want in return. So until we build an infrastructure that allows us to be more independent from the mainstream, we will not get the stuff that we're asking for. Now, I think that it was a strategic pick, by the way. I mean, because you hit the people of color, you hit the woman, you get the law and order background, you get a seasoned senator, you get all of that. I think it's pretty strategic, and it's something that did not say, "Hey, we're radical over here," because a lot of people don't like radical. It's middle of the road. But back to what I spoke to a week ago, thinking that just because you support a party, you support a person, that they in turn are going to just turn around and give you exactly what you want or select people who look like you. Just no, they're trying to win an election. And maybe it shouldn't be that way, but that's the way that it goes.